Folks, so I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how to make attractive ChemDraw figures for our course. Now, when you get ChemDraw and you download it, it's going to look similar to this, but when you start drawing on it, you know, your ideal is to look something like this. So this is that ideal student's lab report, and you know, this is a very nice ChemDraw file. And you'll notice that when you go and you do that, you try to regenerate it over here. And so you draw your aromatic, draw your line. Now I can just make the atom appear by clicking the letter N on my keyboard. That makes a nitrogen. When I go click the letter B, I can make a bromide up here. All right. And then draw an arrow. Where's that arrow? And draw an arrow over here. And you know, I go and I can copy and paste. All right, and then if I want to change that, I would have to click that MGBR, and then we can put magnesium here because that's what you use. Although that should be magnesium turning, so that's magnesium 0 superscript. Is what that should say. And then the solvent is tetrahydrofuran and in iodine subscript. All right, there. Now you'll notice these two do not look alike. All right, the font here is nice. It's larger. It very clearly shows this is a parasubstituted bromo dimethyl aniline. This shows the same thing. Tiny little BR. It's much less aesthetically pleasing. Reaction. This is nicely aligned. This is sort of off to the center. You can try to center it. All right, so this is how you more or less quickly move from this to this. This isn't terrible, but it's not what I want, and it's not what you should aim for either. The fastest way to go about it is to simply change the object settings of your document. So if you go and you highlight everything, all right, and you go up to Object, Apply Object Settings From, and then you select RSC One Column Document. All right, this will make things look prettier. All right, so now this is set up so that this is basically a one-column document. So this will cut and paste, or ideally be saved as a PNG file. That'll go nicely here. You can zoom in, and you can see, you know, this looks a little better. If you really want, you highlight the whole thing, bold, change settings, and that may make it look a little better. I would, I guess, leave it up to you whether or not you want that to be bolded. I would say these probably should definitely be bolded. Maybe not these. All right. But you can see it's still a bit a ways off. I mean, maybe you don't appreciate it necessarily. Well, maybe you don't see it immediately. But these are the sort of things that, you know, when you become a boss of somebody's lab and you have to publish a lot, you start to see. You start to see that this aromatic ring is slightly lower than that aromatic ring. You start to see that this THF iodine is off-centered to this, which is off-centered to the arrow. All right, all these things, you know, they don't look quite right. They look a little sloppy. And there's a very easy way to fix this. You don't have to fight it. If you want these to be even, you can move these out of the way so everything's in the middle of the arrow, highlight it, go to Object, and then there's this align. And you can align things through the center. All right, now everything's aligned. And that looks much better. And you can even make it so it's distributed, so there's an even amount of space between this thing, the arrow, and that thing. You go up to Object, Distribute, and then you distribute horizontally, and that moves the arrow just slightly over, all right? And now if you want to move the magnesium and the solvent and catalyst, and highlight those, and so that they are centered, you can go Structure, Object, Align through centers, and those are now aligned, all right? And you know, you want this thing to be pretty close, so you can use your arrow key so you don't accidentally wonk it over to the side. Move that up, and if you, I mean, that looks pretty good. You can always apply, select all three of them, Structure, Object, Align through the center, and then there you have it. All right, now it looks really good. Now it looks much closer to that. All right, and so you can put it in the center of the page if you really want to. This is much more on the order of what you should be aiming for. So if you look at down here at this, so you know this was probably a bit harder of a structure to draw. Now I'll show you how you can draw something like that. All right. So for this, what you would do then is go File, Save As, save it as a PNG. That's a picture file. It's a lossless compression. That way you don't have to worry about artifacts when you zoom up or zoom down. And your resolution should be at 300, so it's a nice size, so you don't get pixelation when you zoom in or zoom out. All right. Now let's talk about this. All right, that's not a normal tetrahedral bond, but you sometimes have to make sacrifices in the name of clarity. The problem though comes when you do something, and so this is still going to draw it in that same sort of nice format. Comes when you start drawing things and you got, now you're drawing them, so an aromatic ring here, and you got an aromatic ring there, and now you're going to put the oxygen, and then that's going to have O MGBr. All right, so that's the Grignard, that's the salt, the magnesium bromide salt of that reagent. This doesn't look fantastic, to be honest, because these rings are all, it's very easy to fix this. You highlight it and you go up here and there's this little scrubby bubble guy, all right, the scrubby bubble guy with the aromatic ring or whatever in it, and you click that and boom, it makes it nice and clear. All right, there's maybe a desire to make this look like this, so that you go here and you type O MGBr, and it looks like that, where the bromine is sitting on top of the aromatic ring. You just can't do that. All right. Now there are a couple of ways to get around it. You can highlight it. You can go to Object, and then you can redistribute the text, and you can do it centered, so the text is centered. That looks weird too. That's not normal. So flush left again. You can also rotate this whole thing, so now it's much better. It doesn't take up any more space. It just now looks cleaner. And you can double check to make sure it's nice and tight, or you can clean it up and it can look like that, I guess, if you want. But it gets the point across. It clearly shows that now this is what this is. This is a nice clean structure, and you're much closer to where you want to be in terms of your presentation. And clearly the scrubby bubble guy will make it look bad. So it's not like the scrubby bubble guy fixes everything. It very well may ruin it. So keep in mind that the scrubby bubble guy is just sort of like there to help, not there to actually do it. It's an algorithm, and it makes mistakes. Okay. So once you get this and you get your nice distribution, that's how you make things that look like this. So this looks much better in the context of this. All right. Now, if you want to just directly open it up in that format, or directly open it up in so that it draws like that and not like the ugly default ChemDraw, that's pretty easy to do. So if you close ChemDraw, you open ChemDraw, all right, and then before you draw anything, you go to Objects, Apply Object Settings. You have to draw something, I think. Object, Apply Objects. Yeah, you have to draw something. So you just got to like draw a stick or something, and then draw a stick, Objects, Apply Object Settings, RSC one column document. Set default. And you can go online and figure out how to make it so that this is a permanent default, so you're always drawing like that. And that would be fine as well. So that when you open it up, you're always starting out with a one column presentation, although that might not be exactly what you want. You'd appreciate that there may be other ways to do it, but as you can see, this is really much more preferable than what the default is. All right. It's not even comparable. For some reason, the default ChemDraw format is just, it just doesn't look as good. So go with this, go with the RSC. All right.